All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Learning Fives once again. My name is Blasterboy, and I am joined by Zeta here. He will be handling play-by-play, and I will be handling color. Back to normal, no solo casting tonight. We are into picks and bans already for, oh boy, this is a mouthful, Zeta. Dikaios, Kai, Thanatos, and Boxing with Shadows. So these teams are on the blue and red sides respectively. We're already flying through bans here. A lot of these have been pre-decided due to the teams being in LCS order and everybody not quite having every single champion on the roster, unfortunately. So, to prevent a remake here, these teams have already gone over exactly what they're picking and banning, but I tried to refrain from that so that there is still some surprise here. Zeta, what are we really seeing here right now? Let's kind of group these together a little bit.
Well, what we're seeing is a focus on preventing map rotations by the blue side. I mean, really, if you're banning Shen, TK, and Asol, then you're afraid you're just going to get 4 men in the bot lane about 10 times over, because that is literally the purpose of all of those champions.
Yeah, and that is and the functions of Shen and Tahm Kench as well are both extremely defensive champions. They can really protect any one member that they want to and prevent them from really going down. But we're already flying through picks here, like I said. So let's not hover around the bans for too long here. We're seeing quite a lot of teamfight and engage coming out from DKT. Over on the blue side, this is looking like a pretty explosive comp already. I want to see how they round it out, though. I could see, well, MF is a pretty fantastic pick to round out a teamfight composition, and Karma's just a strong support in general, so this is a really nice looking comp so far. We're already done, Zeta.
Yeah, I gotta question the Urgot top. It's a little bit on the off meta side of things, so
certainly
we'll see if it pays off against this Lissandra, because as you said, I mean, when you have Zach Brand Lissandra and then rounded out with a Karma MF, you're bringing teamfight prowess, you're bringing disengage and engage, anything you really want to do in regards to actually getting a teamfight, and all you have to do is just not die, because this semi-pick, early game lane comp, I really don't know what the win condition is.
Yeah, so I feel like the Cassiopeia and Jhin can really go off in this comp. The Bard seems to be the only real glue kind of holding the rest of all of them together, though, because Jhin is good follow-up engage, but there's not really any initial engage to kick that off too well, aside from the Bard, like I said. The Kindred is pretty good DPS, and we actually saw her show up recently in Worlds. I believe she just showed up yesterday, if I recall correctly, in the finals. So she is something that's kind of favored. I feel like she's kind of a comfort pick at the moment. And like you said, the Urgot top, extremely strange. But if he gets rolling in this lane, then he's just going to be an unstoppable force that the Lissandra can easily get run over. The advantage that the Lissandra has, though, is that she can constantly be poking and pushing away very effectively. So she can pretty effectively keep this Urgot pinned down and keep herself out of kill pressure pretty often here, I feel like.
Fun story. That is his most played champion, is the Urgot top lane. So,
oh boy, this is going to be very interesting then.
It's going to be interesting. I think that there's only one real build path you can go on Urgot, so
yeah,
we'll see well, actually, we'll see really if he goes for anything out of the ordinary, because usually it's a Ghost Blade into a Black Cleaver, sometimes a Maw, sometimes not, and then a Death Stance to round it out. It's just pretty straightforward for the most part, but again, like, it does not have the wave clear to compete with Lissandra. It does not have the rotation power of that E. It has an R, but you have to swap yourself into danger just to be able to use it. So we'll see if they can land some picks. It's going to be very interesting. Bard, it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much you really want to be swapping yourself into the enemy team, though, especially this comp, because as soon as you dive in, if you swap the Lissandra, then you're putting Lissandra in a great position. Or if you swap the Zac, you're putting him in a great position. or Brand, and even to some extent Karma. MF and Karma are probably the best ones that you would want to be swapping in, but if Brand gets swapped in, if you don't just insta-kill him and chain CC, which this team doesn't really have a ton of hard CC to prevent him from ulting, if he gets a big ult down, then he could just demolish this entire team, and the MF and Lissandra can also do that as well. If all of these ults chain together, the only real thing that they're missing is a jungler like, say, in a Mumu or something that would enable this comp even further, but I don't think it's necessary because they have the Zac super long range engage as well, so they can guaranteed get into a lot of different instances where they normally wouldn't be able to. But unless you have any closing thoughts here, we will just go.
I think that's pretty much about it. I really think that the comps are straightforward in their execution, but straightforward in the design, as in one's comfort champions, the other one's team fight, and then we'll see if they can execute. That's really down to the teams themselves.
Yeah, so with all of that said, guys, we're going to have to see how it pans out on the Rift, because none of this matters if these teams do not execute. We will be right back in just a moment after the short musical break while we load into the game. Don't go anywhere. Alright guys, we are on to the Rift with game number 1 between Dikaios, Kai, Thanatos, and Boxing with Shadows, both on the blue and red sides respectively. We kind of flew through picks and bans a little bit, but I think we broke down the comps pretty darn well to kick this off, so I mean, it'll be interesting to see how these teams end up panning out. Brand is already marked for this Kindred, so that could be a hint at where she's looking to go first.
Yeah, I mean, the only problem I see with that, as I say that though, level 1 invade, a little bit of damage. Don't want to get too close to that. After all, Karma with the enhanced inner flame is, that's a lot of damage, you know? Pop the mantra on it and it just kind of blows up half your health bar. But what I was going for is the fact that Zac early game is a much, much better, like, counter gank jungler. If you get in and you get in on the Kindred, she is going to die probably 8 times out of 10. I mean, it's just so incredible how much damage the Elastic Slingshot does and the disruption from it, plus the range. I mean, Kindred has to walk into lane. You don't even have Ghost. You've got Flash, so if you're going to be walking into lane, Zac has all the time in the world just to wind it up, get in, get on your face, and then turn it completely around. So if she goes for this very early mid gank, as is indicated by the mark, she could be in for a very rude surprise because Zac knows that.
Yeah, definitely. And, I mean, to break down these lanes a little bit further, I feel like the Brand into Cassio, it is a little bit of a weird matchup. It's definitely not one that I've seen very much of, if any. But I feel like by how Brand ends up working out and how you end up poking in the lane, that he's kind of a counter. He seems like he would be a pretty good counter versus the Cassio, but it's a matter of whether he can land his spells or not, or whether he's just simply zoning Cassio off the wave and taking a bunch of free damage in between his spell cooldowns, because those are relatively large.
Yeah, they're not exactly small in any sense of the word, but right now, what I want to see is the pushing power of Karma versus the aggressiveness of
Mhm.
Jin Bard, if that's actually going to matter, because as of right now, it looks like the love taps are doing more than enough damage for these trades.
Yeah, and I mean, this is just how you want to trade with MF. You want to trade, if you can trade an auto with the support, it's even better, really. Especially if Bard does not have his meeps. Oh, all in mid.
All in, but they don't get the kill. Remember that League of Banter now has burned his entire mana pool for no kill. A heal, yes, you got one summoner, but Kindred's still not there. She doesn't have red buff. She can't actually gank until she gets that probably, so it's going to be a long while before that happens. And right now, Brand at full mana, he's content to farm that wave out.
Yeah, and this was actually an extremely fortunate mark for the Kindred here. She ends up getting her mark in the bottom river, which is the side of the map that she started on, and the side of the map that her team is already winning. This bottom lane is pushing in. She's completely safe. They know that Zach didn't start on the bottom side, so absolutely no contest for that scuttler there, and that's the first mark over to Kindred already. A lot of her scaling is really locked up in those marks now after some fairly recent changes. So getting those early is especially important for Kindred. She really has to rely, it feels like, on marking champions a little bit more often, though. Here's a gank top.
Oh, action faking. He does get the claw to safety, but not without a little bit of risk. I mean, there were flashes available. There were all kinds of spells that they could have kept throwing. They could have actually dove that and still probably gotten the kill, but seeing as they didn't, it means that Kindred's going to actually return back to this mid lane and see if she can make good on that first promise she had to gank mid. Second scuttle mark, though, picked up already.
Yeah, and I think getting these marks is really more efficient. It is the most valuable thing for Kindred, really. There's only a few different locations where these marks can spawn early now. I don't remember off the top of my head the exact restrictions.
Pretty much just river.
But yeah, it's pretty much just river, and I think maybe just like Gromp and Raptors or something like that for the enemy. But now, as you gain marks, the mark locations will change. So now Red and Blue Buff can be marked, Dragon and Baron will be marked eventually, but it's dependent on the number of marks that you have collected. So while these early marks are very valuable, it's not necessarily difficult to get these on Kindred, as you said, since it's pretty much just limited to river. But it is valuable nonetheless. Erratic.
Ooh, there we go. A big cosmic binding into Erratic means that Cook can do what he wants. They don't want to land the flourish yet. He flashes into it, and the heal has to be burned. DFT would have taken her down otherwise.
Yeah, really nice deadly flourish there from Lila, and a fantastic start for this Jhin Bard lane. This is how you want to be playing the lane. Karma and MF can poke, and they can deal damage and trade very effectively, but Jhin and Bard just have so much more effective range damage and so much better follow-up. Action faking taken extremely low up top too.
Ooh, if there was any more mana on you, if he had, like, we're talking 70 mana, 2 Qs, that is a dead Lissandra. You cannot flash out of it once it's in transit. He could have gotten at least one off, blown a flash, maybe even killed him through the flash if he had wanted to burn his own, because he had plenty of HP to play with. That was decided by literally inches.
Yeah, man, I mean, we touched on that trade top. It was a great trade, got control in the top lane for Yui, but that's the third mark now for Tai Mai Tai off of the Raptors in the enemy jungle, and that was League of Banter pushing in and being able to help him out with those. Oh, but taking so much damage mid.
Ooh, this is a big pop. This is a big first blood goes over to Attenuated Taint, but now the chase is on in the top lane. I was talking about this being an issue, and he takes so much damage. Action faking cannot stick around every single time that E comes down. He is just going to get acid hunted to death. Winston, though, he doesn't know what's coming. Lone Starmie has the jump. Does he have the range? He gets onto Bard. Flash is blown in exchange, and they get the flourish. Prison up Bard under turret. They don't get a kill for it, and heal will be burned as well. 2 summoners for none. Good trade, though, from DKT.
Yeah, really nice timing on that trade as well. This is just going great for pretty much any of these teams in whatever fights they're winning. Justice Dealer and Erratic just start that off at the perfect time and keep them in actually a really good spot, even though they were under turret. It's enough to have kill pressure nearly onto Winston, like you said, force the flash and the heal out of Lilat. So that is I would like to say quite a lot of effectiveness taken out of this lane, a lot of the punch, but that's not really true, as the same summoners have been taken away on the opposite side just a little bit earlier. Lone Starmie might be caught in his own jungle here.
He can't contest right now. It's a pretty decently sized Cassiopeia. Only got a tier, but when you're Zac in your jungle, you don't even have your completed jungle item. There's not much you can do to stop that. He's not 6 either, so this will have to be a very big slingshot. He gets onto 2 though, and this could be it. League of Banter, he flashes out, he cleanses as well, but the flash to follow means that Lone Starmie will get a first kill of the fight. He is split into bloblets, but now ultimate's not for Tai Mai Tai. He has to consider this. That could have been a very big kill. Lissandra doesn't decide to focus on it, and Hugh is the one that's going to be brought down as well. 2 kills for free for DKT.
A little bit too greedy there from Tai Mai Tai, unfortunately. Not able to pick up that kill, but nonetheless, fantastic collapse from DKT. Absolutely. The push into the jungle there was a little bit weird. With Taint out of the mid lane, it makes sense to try to go for that. Especially with jungle support, but ultimately they just got collapsed on by action faking, moving down from the top lane, and Yu was just not in a very good spot to respond to that because of how deep into the jungle they were pushed, with no vision, no real huge amount of respect. But actually, here's Lilat with the curtain call.
Oh, Bard had the brilliant idea of trying to go through it. He was going to ult and then wait for him to get that 4th auto through it actually and onto the MF, and hopefully follow up with a flourish for the kill, but little bit miscommunicated. They get out safely. DKT, kind of a dangerous situation though, but the ult being down means that they can play a little bit more loose and get away with it now.
Yeah, definitely, especially with both of the ults being down. Either one of these ults being down can really hurt the potential, the kill potential for this lane, but having both of them down definitely will just really bring this lane to completely in control of DKT for the next minute or so. And that's not really that long in the grand scheme of things, but that could mean quite a lot if they're able to force kills down here now. However, these ults are coming up fairly soon. Really, they're not that long cooldowns overall. Here's another invade, this time for a Kindred Mark, and it's much more shallow in the jungle. They have support. They have their support there as well.
They've got ultimate, but I don't know if this is going to be enough damage to actually burn down anybody. Attenuated Taint has got to get the heck out of there. He goes down. Zac does not. Lone Starmie, keep in mind, does not have passive for this, so he had to leave a little bit earlier than he would have liked, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to stick around in those types of fights as long as you can as a Zac. Now, man, boxing with shadows onto the dragon.
There's just no mana. I mean, if
he
gets
smite.
Ooh,
that was
smite
close.
Was actually up, and it was not used. So yeah, a little bit risky. Could have been a steal. No vision over the wall. If he had vision, guaranteed a steal. But that's what you get for not warding. He had a trinket. Actually, he didn't have the trinket up. Surprise, surprise. That is he had a pink ward, but that's it.
Yeah. So the smite came up at the very last second of that dragon. Just as Jin crit it, the smite came off a cooldown, I think. So if not, it was extremely close to that. So very, very close steal. Nearly a 50-50 with the support karma. And I mean, much better teams have had objectives stolen by karma RQs. So definitely not out of the question. But not quite the case here for Justice Dealer, unfortunately. Overall, this is looking pretty good in sort of the invisible objectives for boxing with shadows. The dragon is definitely not one of those, but they're down in kills, but their Kindred is effectively winning this jungle right now by already having 4 stacks. Invaded twice successfully to pick up both of the Raptor marks. So this is a fantastic position as long as she can keep this going. That's the big problem that I personally ran into with playing Kindred, and I see a lot of Kindreds that really hit a wall with, is you can stack really well early or you can stack really well late, but if you're not able to keep that momentum pretty consistent throughout the whole game, then it's going to be really hard to actually be effective with them and to get enough marks to actually matter fortunately, Bo2 with Shadows seem pretty well coordinated around these, and they're constantly shoving in the mid lane, roaming their support now, and invading as a unit in order to go for those marks. So that's extremely valuable. Justice Dealer caught.
Oh, almost caught. The Deadly Flourish isn't enough. And actually, the trade goes in the favor of DKT with that little bit of damage onto Bard. First shot, second, third, fourth, it's not going to be enough. Another heal burned. Every single time this ult comes down, it feels like they get another heal out of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of members, Tai and League of Banter, both roaming down to this bottom lane, trying to pick up whatever they can, but Attenuated Taint is going to box them in and force them out of that position, so they're not able to get a kill out of all of that, and that's, I mean, the Jhin ult committed again for really a fruitless effort. Definitely not the worst thing in the world, of course. To push the support out of lane especially is pretty valuable, but the CS lead in this lane is really what you need to be looking at, and they need to kill Erratic at this point to either equalize it, or they need to push him out of lane in order to make up for the lost CS. And at this point, they're not able to do either of those, so it's still a 20 CS deficit.
Yeah, I mean, the other weird thing is that DKT actually still have an overall gold lead, partially because of the kills being spread out and the assist gold, but also partially because, as you said, they are winning some of these lanes. They aren't getting as many jungle objectives. They didn't get the first dragon, but seeing as no turrets have gone down, right now, boxing with Shadows, they've got to make a play sometime soon, because if they don't, they are going to be throwing their lead away and just kind of giving it over to this late game teamfight composition that DKT have put together.
Yeah, and the type of position you want to be in. Oh, maybe hold that thought.
Not dead yet. It's just close, but it is not enough to burn it down. Brand's passive can pack a punch with that blaze, but its detonation damage isn't as high as I'd like it to be. I think the ratio could be twerked a little bit. Tweaked. Freudian slip. Anyway, I think that it could be tweaked slightly to kind of reflect the fact that Brand is incredibly squishy and vulnerable to most ganks.
Yeah, I mean, not really going to discuss balance too much here, but yeah, I could definitely see the burst being a little bit higher on less healthy targets, since it is max health based, if I recall correctly. But anyway, I mean, the CS lead for Erratic, really nice. Like I said before, Duskblade already completed, actually. So now the CS lead has resulted in an item lead, and that item lead, he's spiking way earlier than Lylat is, in spite of all of these trades, the earlier trades in particular that went in the favor of Lylat and Winston. So now this MF is a real big threat, because if Lone Starmie comes down here, they have decent enough vision control that Zac can slingshot in from a few different locations and be able to do quite a bit of work. Winston.
If you walk straight into the Karma, though, I don't think that's going to give you much room to play around things, because right now it looks like, as you said, MF has the pressure, but the weird thing about Duskblade is that if you do get it very early on, like let's say, you get it early on, somebody else has a little bit of health like that, actually, it's not going to do much. And so he already procced it, but Lylat Cook is fine to continue farming, he's fine to continue staying in lane, and now you don't have the Duskblade kill pressure for when you can't finish it.
Yeah, a lot of the power of Duskblade on ADCs is pretty much just the stats, actually, weirdly enough. You can get kills with the passive, and the passive can do a lot of work, but it's sort of a scaling passive. It's not really a 15-minute passive to be getting you kills on a Jhin. Bursting him down with the armor pen and all the AD, ooh, League of Banter, taking quite a lot of damage.
No vision for that.
This is
zero vision for that combo. If he had
really
any vision, that could have been an ult follow-up plus an E and a very dead Cassiopeia. Granted, I think he had just used his last ward. Yes, he did. He just used the last ward to try and prevent the ganks. So, a little bit of a lucky break there for League of Banter.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, that's really what he has to rely on at this point, it feels like, with the lane. Even though he's definitely not doing bad, there's an ult thrown out. Pyroclasm just out of nowhere, really, just using it to trade effectively. It only has a 72-second cooldown at the moment, so that's completely justifiable, really, to just go for those trades. But this is the pushing power that Brand has. He can really push an immobile target out of lane, and Cassiopeia definitely fits that bill. That's what makes the Victor so strong against Cassiopeia, and that's why I was assuming that this Brand pick would function in a similar way, because one of the big issues with Cassio is that the Victor can just throw down the laser, and there's nothing you can do about it. Erratic might be caught here, though.
Well, they didn't land the binding, but I don't think at this point it's going to change much. Tai does get the first one. The second one, flourish onto Justice Dealer, means that he's going to go down as well, and now the kills have finally evened up, as does the gold lead. Dragon, the second one of the game, is going to be the next objective.
And they just played that completely around the objective time. They roamed down there with 4 members to go for that gank just as the dragon spawn. Lone Starmie wants to leap this wall, but has to cancel. Taint coming in.
Yeah, he's close to it, but Attenuated Taint does go down for his trouble. They lose another one, the third kill given over. Smite not even secured by Lone Starmie. He's got to flash back over the wall, but the Bard Tunnel and the follow-up with that Jhin is going to ensure that he goes down. Bloblets aren't going to save you, and I think they're going to take the red buff as well.
Yeah, there's really no reason not to here. Just hand that over to Tai or Lylit, but this could turn all of a sudden.
Could turn, but there's just not enough damage. C9 Erratic, he's looking for something. He's looking for some kind of return damage, something to get this back, but they just are about to lose another kill. The flash, double flash. They wasted one, but Cook finishes off Justice Dealer with the last auto attack.
I think that Erratic just needed to try to go for an ult there. You flash into the bush, you break vision. Just drop the ult on everyone. Just try to melt them, chase them off if nothing else. But he just holds it. 4 summoners burn just for the duo lane there on that attempt, on the attempted retake of their own jungle, and they are not successful in this instance. So now that's an Ocean Drake and an Infernal Drake going over to Boxing with Shadows. Tai is a little bit caught here, but gets another mark.
He's just going into this jungle and seemingly completely disrespecting every single time he goes in. He just goes for the mark, grabs it, says, "Thank you very much, I'll add that to my stat collection," and makes his way out. He's on 5 marks only, though, a little bit less than I would have liked to have seen at this point.
Yeah, it is getting progressively more and more difficult because, like I said, going on in this game, the stacks will eventually start hitting the red and blue buffs. So you'll be getting stacked very infrequently, which means that Kindred has to rely on a lot of champion stacks much more often than not, which is much different than Kindred's release state or even her slightly post-release state where she first hit the meta pretty strongly. So it's a much different playstyle for Kindred. You have to be much more effective with your marks, but so far, Tai has been great with the jungle control, and Boxing with Shadows has overall as a unit as well, like I said before, but kill-wise, they're just not delivering. Lone Starmie, though, just barely leaps out of there.
Yeah, that Cassiopeia ult was held for a little bit too long there, and the grounding used too early. I think you actually swap the order in which you use those just to keep that Zac from leaving, because as soon as he starts charging, then you can throw down your purple miasma and just kind of ground him for the rest of your combo, really.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that would have been a much more effective combo, especially with the Rylai's. I think that was kill pressure there. Oh, here's a catch bottom.
Grounding plus a Cosmic Binding equals a very, very dead Misfortune. And another play by Boxing with Shadows towards the bot lane means that they're going to be looking for this turret, hopefully to capitalize off the kill.
Yeah, and this could be, well, this will absolutely be first brick gold for them as well, so this is a great bit of benefit for them. They split it between 4 members, which isn't the best, I wouldn't say. I feel like it's more effective to just throw 650 gold onto 1 member than it is to spread it out like that. But, I mean, whatever it takes to get the turret, this could be a counter engage to try to stall them here, but I don't know if this is worth. It is not.
Just not. I mean, at this point in the game, the kill score is running away from them. 3,000 gold at 21 minutes. It's not insurmountable. It's definitely not insurmountable.
No, not at all.
But the gold is all concentrated exactly where you want it to be in this Jhin. 3-0 and 3 means that he is going to be massive. Kindred scaling up decently as well. Justice Dealer could be paying the price, but it doesn't look like he's going to go down. Nobody has the explosive mark on them, so they're not going to spread it, and they get out with slivers of HP.
Yeah, they spread the bounces just... I mean, it's RNG more or less, but it ends up bouncing perfectly for them, and they spread it out really nicely. They split apart perfectly there, and now there's pressure onto this top turret from you. He's going to take it extremely low, not quite going to be able to kill it, but it's only a matter of time. He's already at Muramana at only 22 minutes, which is just about a minute or two ahead of the usual curve for an Ezreal. I don't really know what the curve for an Urgot is. I would imagine it's pretty similar since he's spammy, but this is a great time to have it at just 22 minutes, super early for a big power spike like that. And he's nearly completed the Black Cleaver as well. He's really just pushing action faking around in this lane, even though there's no kill. It's coming through in the CS, a 30 CS lead for you right now. Action faking could die in the next few seconds.
Dodging that isn't going to save you, though. Lone Star Me does trade it back. They get mid for mid, but right now, pressure still favoring the side of Boxing with Shadows because their AD carry is towards the mid lane. As I say that, though, they rotate it completely off. They're going to want to go and collect the wave instead bottom.
Yeah, Ty is up here. Just placed the mark onto Lissandra now. So now this is definitely worth it for Ty.
Ooh, this is going to be good, but will Yui actually live through this? He's getting out of the ult, and he's actually going to go down. 1 down, 2 are down. Action faking has made the plays, and he gets 2 for 0. Fantastic outplay under the turret.
I'm just speechless for that dive. Oh, no. Boxing with Shadows had so much going for them there. They had the Kindred mark. Suddenly it was worth it. Urgot was tanking first. You just need to last hit that Lissandra and then drop the Kindred ult. And also don't walk out of it. That was so close to going perfectly, but instead it ended in disaster, and that is the risk you take with tower diving. And that's a really big lead for action faking all of a sudden, picking up 2 kills, now closing that CS gap by a whole 10 just from that fight, just from that dive. Ult drop mid again. Even gets a top turret for action faking as well. So a huge amount of gold all of a sudden. Engagement.
Oh, League of Banter is not where you want to be in the path of a rampaging Zac. Just absolutely a great pick for Lone Star Me, flashing the Bard ultimate. This is not your day, but right now DKT look like they've got something back, and that was a great play by them. Maybe Lone Star Me can dodge these shots out. 1, 2, 3.
Nope.
Out of range and doesn't even get anything back for that. Pre 1 for 0, top turret taken down, 1-1 in turrets now, and the gold lead is closing actually.
Yeah, it's only 1,000 gold all of a sudden. The next dragon is alive and Ty is already on it. It is completely dead there. So another dragon. That time it was a mountain drake, I believe. We go ahead and check over here. Yeah, that was a mountain drake. This time for Boxing with Shadow. So a lot of diversity in the dragon pickup so far. One of each that we'll see in this game. And the Infernal is the last one of the game now. There will only be 4 dragons. This game, 4 elemental dragons, that is. Elder will be coming up pretty shortly after. So you going to be able to take that top turret, and now this gold lead right back in the hands of Boxing with Shadows. Although it never technically left, it just closed pretty significantly. Now it's just about back where they left it off.
It's about halved. I mean, they were at 3-ish thousand, but action faking, he is just taking every single point of damage. I mean, yes, the Urgot is a very big bully. The Noxian Corrosive Charge itself allows for the homing aspect.
Here's an engage.
Really where it goes in big, but as I say, going in big, the DKT makes it happen. You gets 1 on this fight, but can they get anything more? Right now, the turret goes down, Jhin takes 1, and on the other side of the fight, they're still turning it with the MF ultimate, and Cook stands in the edge. It means that this is going to be a 3-for-2. DKT, they get exactly what they want out of it.
That was a really... that should have been... Oh, hold that
thought. Not over yet. Erratic has to run away. He's got the Deathfire burning. Yu doesn't have flash, though. He's not going to be able to catch up. Really sub close. 100 HP, but that's enough.
Yeah, as long as it's greater than 0, you are completely fine to walk out with any amount of health. And man, he just barely limps away from you there. And you is a monster in these fights. In spite of just being 0-2 a moment ago, now 2-2-0. Still maintaining a massive CS lead, nearly 40 now, in fact. Although that will change pretty shortly, I feel like. But overall, that fight was really strange. It was kind of a wasted ult from Erratic. In a normal situation, that would have been completely wasted, but Lilat just miscalculated the range of it or something. You is completely caught, no flash.
The ult doesn't actually bounce off of the Baron, so now he had a chance, but it was quickly squashed. Taint actually manages to grab that kill as well, and now kill score evened up. The gold still about 1,500 apart, but that's with a 2-turret lead. That means that the gold, if the turrets were even, would actually be in the favor of DKT. Yep. But they've started up the Baron. Let's see if they can finish it.
They don't have any dragons here. There's vision drop now for boxing with Shadow, so this is in steal range. They just need Lone Starmie to smite confidently here. 50-50. Oh, Ty!
Ty has to come in.
Oh, no!
He actually would be able to smite this Baron if it wasn't in his own ultimate. And he secures the Baron for boxing with Shadows, but that just kicks off the rest of the fight. League with Banter is the first one to go down for their team. The second one, actually, double kill on action faking. And Winston has to try and make his way out. Binding will ensure that he gets a little bit more time. Lone Starmie, you can tank up turret shots all you want, but you is here to make sure you get out. And as I say that, though, he gets out back onto Cook. That means that there's going to be a reversal, swapping in Taint, and Cook has to get another kill. Binding will secure it. Winston picks that one up. Action faking, and Starmie on slivers of HP. They make their way out of the fight, and Baron buff still on 3.
Oh! Brutal snipe to close it out from Lilat. In general, I think that Lilat has actually had some pretty solid Jhin play this game, but that snipe was an example of it. That ultimate, the first shot at least, was kill securing a pretty good ult, all things considered. But, however, positioning been a little bit weird at times, but that was not the case in this fight for sure. Beautiful steal from Tai, completely denied the smite from Lone Starmie. It was either, I couldn't exactly tell, I missed it, but it was either a panic smite from Lone Starmie that took it down to 700, or he attempted to smite it at 700, and Tai's ult denied it.
700 because Tai's ult, Lamb's Respite, kept it at a certain percent of HP.
It locks it. If it falls below 10% health, then it is locked there for the duration.
It was locked there for the entire duration because it was already below 10. Yeah. So that's just completely
unlucky.
I'd say unlucky for Starmie, because if he had that, he should have been able to get the smite. But right now, this is another fight in the jungle, and Cook is exactly where he wants to be. They pop the Zac into blobs, but Tai has to burn ult instead just to stay alive. And now Winston and Tai trying their best to make their way out of this fight. The claw ensures that action faking will get close, but will that be enough? He has to burn down 1, he has to burn down 2. They trade Justice Dealer back for some kills, but at this point in the game, going 2 for 2 isn't good enough. You've got to get something more out of it, and you thinks he is the solution. He gets a triple kill, all 3, 4 actually. Action faking the last one alive, he goes golden, but he's just gonna be another trophy on top. Quadra kill for you.
In 2 fights, Yu has completely changed his KDA from pretty bad 0-2 to 2-2 to now 6-3 in just 2 team fights. Fantastic cleaning up from Yu overall. And honestly, he's doing so much damage. He just completely 1v1 Erratic while walking under the turret and never even lost a quarter of his health hardly. This is a very scary Urgot. This is definitely not something that I would see DKT letting through unless they find some way to just completely stomp it out of relevance for the next 10 or 20 minutes that this game will likely last and somehow take this game.
I think that the biggest thing about Urgot is the lack of mobility combined with the fact that you build mostly armor penetration items and no tankiness anymore on the current build. It lends itself to getting picked because generally you'll be in a fight, you won't have mobility. and you'll get stunned up and completely bursted by somebody with way more damage than you about 40 minutes into the game. So if it gets to that point, I think the Urgot falls off enough to kill it. But
yeah, I mean, for DKT's sake, I certainly hope so, because right now Yu is looking kind of unstoppable. But to be fair, he was not focused in that fight at all. Like you said, he's not super tanky. CC chains is definitely something that DKT's comp can provide. With between the Brand and the Zac and the Lissandra alone, they have a lot of work that they can do, and the Brand can just completely blow up this Urgot. Lissandra can as well because of the lack of MR, although he is alleviating that a little bit now by picking up a Spectre's Cow and the Merc Shreds, so it won't be as much of an issue in the upcoming fights, but he's still at risk of getting bursted, I feel, just because of the raw health and overall MR that will be lacking from a double AP comp. This fight? Whoa.
No, one tag is not what you want to see out of a full Jhin ult, because when you call a curtain, you wanted to bring the house down, and right now that's exactly what they're doing, except they're getting turned on, and Yu has brought out the MF, cancel the bullet time, and it is time to tie my die. He is just getting every single kill in the book. Right now, though, the turret is not going to be under fire until this minion wave actually makes its way into the base. Yu's still here. Yu is still burning them down, and one more Q will finish it off. The Seeker is finding its prey, and he gets not even a kill. Actually, action faking is going to prison him up. They actually managed to make it out for now, but the Q on the return, the last second of that barrage tick, manages to make it work.
Erratic had, I feel like, a really good ult there. Hit 4 or 5 targets, but it was canceled by the Urgot ult in return. And now, man, boxing with shadows. They're just pushing in as hard as they can. Erratic wants to turn this around on the exit, though. He does not want to let them get out cleanly. But he can't kill this Urgot. There's nothing that he can do. This is something that MF struggles with, which is just single target damage straight up. And you just need your ult in order to really do most of your damage. Just how she's designed, so that's definitely not a flaw in the champion or anything like that, but it's a weakness of hers. So Urgot's just going to continue running her over in these fights, and Taint was not able to nearly burst Yu quite enough to deal anything substantial in that fight and really turn the tides.
Yeah, it's, as you said, I mean, the MF just can't deal with these tanky targets, especially when you build the Dustblade first. That means that the first auto you throw, it just kind of gets canceled out. So
yeah,
we'll see if they can make it work. We'll see if they can actually, make this happen. But for right now, it looks like Boxing with Shadows are firmly in the driver's seat. They've got a 10k gold lead. Baron coming up again. It would take a miracle steal out of Starmie just to keep this game alive.
Yeah, but luckily, that's one of the things that Zac can actually do pretty safely when compared to other junglers, because he can just launch himself completely cleanly over the pit. But he can also get in from a very long distance. Here's the engage!
Oh, it's close, but it's no cigar. This Kindred Smite secures Baron as well. They get 2 kills for their trouble. That's pretty good stuff. But right now, Banter has flashed with the ult, and it's doing incredible amounts of work. Cook is the last one anywhere near this pit besides that Cassiopeia. She has to try and burn down Zac in time. She's got the actual grounding field, but she throws it down late. Does not stop him. Doesn't really matter. Still has the damage to finish off, and now they go to try and finish this base.
Yeah, they're going to have a little bit of a hard time, though, as Erratic is already here clearing out the creeps, so they're not going to have the most amount of minions to buff them up, and it looks like they're just going to try to focus bot instead, but I feel like it's even a risk in this 2v2, because it's support and mid laner versus an AP top laner and the ADC, and these members are going to be respawning really soon. I feel like they should just back out and try to, I want to say cut their losses, but they didn't really lose all that much there. I think they just need to be content with what they got.
They felt the same way. They backed out at the exact same time, and it worked out. Yeah,
so now all of the elemental dragons have been exhausted, so This next one that's spawning in just 30 seconds will in fact be the Elder Drake. This could be a pretty big point of contention, specifically for Boxing with Shadows, because getting the Elder Drake with 4 buffs is definitely something that they'll want to be able to do. Because that will be a huge buff, plus it's double Infernal on Jhin and Cassio, 2 champions that are really well known for having massive amounts of their respective stats.
A little bit of downtime in this hectic game. It's still a 10,000 gold lead. That hasn't shrunk much. In fact, it's ballooned slightly. And right now, I mean, yes, they're taking a little bit to end it, but at this point in the game, is there any way that DKT can come back and take this?
Yeah, I think they definitely can. I mean, there's the 2 main carries are the Jhin and Cassio. Like I just said, they have a huge amount of power in this comp due to having extremely high stats. But just with how this comp is built, they are major threats. If you can deal with both of them, which Lissandra and a good Brand ult or a good bullet time can all do, that's definitely not out of the question to be able to pick these carries off and just completely shatter this comp and have 3 or 4 people deal with his Urgot. It's definitely something that's possible. They might even catch him here. Action Faking will not take the claw, though.
I'd love to see just some kind of pick focused on you, because he has been so big for this team. If they can get him or Cook in the initial engage, make sure Kindred's nowhere near to ult and save them, they could manage to actually turn this around, as you were saying, because if you get one of the carries, then this turns into a 2.5-ish carry comp.
Yeah.
And you should have the damage to deal with that, especially with the bullet time.
Yeah, so we shall see how this goes. Action Faking in a bad spot, but doesn't take very much damage for it, fortunately. And this is just a huge wave of caster minions. They really need to engage here if they want to break this. Here we go!
This is a big slingshot. This is the last chance, the last call. DKT, they've managed to take down 1, and that was the target that they wanted to see. Yu has slain the MF in the other side of this fight, but that's not all, folks. Right now, they're still pursuing. Justice Dealer has gone down to Winston, and it's 2 for 2. Let's see if they can make anything else happen. Take has gone down as well, and now Starmie desperately trying to save Action Faking. It's not to be, though, and 3 members of Boxing with Shadows remain alive to shove in this base.
And that fight was just so beautifully kited by both League of Banter and Yu. Yu just isolated his target and just completely eradicated Erratic. Honestly, like, he just melted him so quickly, and the MF ult was not nearly enough. And unfortunately, that engage was really well coordinated, but without the bullet time on top, it didn't really do anything to just the Urgot, because MF does not have the power, like I said before, to really deal with him. This could very well be the game end, but that's another bullet time dropped. And the armor's broken.
Bullet time dropped. They actually got the ticket. Finally, it makes a difference, and now the Duskblade comes through. Erratic gets completely stunned and
respawns,
reduced to ash. The Stone Gaze of Cassiopeia has gone. It's only gotten 1, though, right now. 2 lanes are down. They've got 1 to play with, but they have no Nexus turrets remaining.
Yeah, no Nexus turret, and I feel like this Elder Drake or the Baron could both be focused here. You cannot afford to leave this Nexus alone, especially not with 2 super minion waves. This might just be the end for DKT, even though the Nexus technically hasn't fallen yet. It's going to be pretty secure, I feel like, with how Boxing with Shadows has been playing so far. But it is certainly not out of the question for DKT to find and exploit certain mistakes. If you oversteps from being too confident, at 12.56, you better be pretty darn confident in how you're playing as a player, especially on a champion that you know so well. As you said, it's his most played champion in ranked. So overstepping is always a risk, and that could apply to any one of these 3 carries here, or 4 carries, I suppose, even with the Kindred as well. Although you and League of Banter definitely seem like the highest value targets at this point, because if you don't kill League of Banter, then he just kites, and you will just melt everyone in just a few seconds while also kiting as well if you don't deal with him immediately. Elder Drake is now the focus. There's no vision here. Oh, there is some vision, but there's just no hope.
Yeah, right now, I mean, the
That's
dragon
enough.
is secured one more time. Starmie, he does his best, but it's just not to be. Right now, Tai Mai Tai is on point with every single smite from the first Baron Steel
Yeah.
to this last Elder Dragon secure. The shots are coming through. They're trying to tag up Taint, and they slow him down just enough to get the grounded field under him, and that will be one. Justice Dealer is secured for a third kill, in fact. Maybe they can finish this game out, but right now it looks like Action Faking is going to go down. They pop the Kindred ult to stay alive. 2 members would have gone down, but Lamb's Respite keeps them up, and the first game of this best of 2 is taken by Boxing the Shadows.
Yeah, really beautiful way to close out that game, I've got to say. They abused the desperation of Lone Starmie. In that situation, you do not throw your life away for a dragon like that. Normally, you could say, oh, well, that was worth a shot to go for the Smite Steal. It's worth throwing your life away. But when you are on the ropes like that, when the Elder Drake will likely be your end anyway, you should go for one last fight. Maybe try to boost your confidence a bit, if nothing else, even if you don't win it outright. But with all that said, I mean, this was a really well-executed composition from Boxing with Shadows, and I thought that their lack of hard engage would really be an issue, but the lack of super safe engages from Lone Starmie, plus just the fights just falling apart so quickly for DKT, really resulted in Boxing with Shadows taking this victory.
Yeah, it was well played by both teams up until about the 10-minute mark when it started to separate, really, because at that point, the steal on that Baron was so incredible. Actually, that was 20 minutes. So, about 20 minutes, the gold lead was still 3k still. But the Baron steal meant that the gold it was able to be snowballed. They could finally take the objectives that they hadn't been able to posture around, and it really did enable Boxing with Shadows to actually gain that foothold, gain that lead across the map, and be able to do those macro plays.
Yeah, well, I mean, with all of that said, though, we still have one more game coming up, guys. Do not go anywhere. Honestly, even though the game was pretty one-sided in terms of gold and even in kills at the end with 14 kill lead for Boxing with Shadows, I'm really excited to see what types of comps these two teams put together for the next one, but we will see what the results of Champ Select is when we get there. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back after this very short break. You're watching Learning Fives.
As I fell to the ocean floor, fading light through an open door, I saw myself rise with the water. They thought they could keep me down, hold their breath and watch me drown, but all they did is push me higher. We don't care what they say, we will be here all day, we'll stay till it's over, till the world's out of sight. We will stand, we will fight, it's not over till it's over. Through the nights in the rain, through the time and the pain, we stand, we'll never fall. And then at the end of it all, we will win, we will chant, it's not over till it's over. Just ahead of time. Know your addiction's not a crime. It's just a smaller part of who you want to become in the end. When the snow is on her mind, rows and rows and lines in the haze of your fixation, we all crave.
I think it was just
Basically.
one misban on the side of Boxing with Shadows. That seems to be the issue here. But we should be getting right back in. But yeah, as you were saying, sorry.
What was I saying? I know what I was saying. So if they go for another team fight composition, they're gonna have to switch up quite a few of the picks.
Mm-hmm.
As you remember last time, DKT actually banned team fight heavy picks in the same manner. They actually banned, rotation heavy picks in the form of Shen, in the form of a Soul, and in the form of Tom Kench. So those are all on the table still, and we'll see if they get picked up this time.
Yeah, I think that's a really big thing to take away from this adjustment in picks and bans. Yeah, you see a lot of big picks that were very powerful last time taken off the table, but there are power picks that are strong in the current meta, picks that they didn't want to deal with in the first place, that all make it through picks and bans this time. So this will be very, very interesting. It looks like we might have an adjustment to the pick ban here. Shouldn't affect anything you guys saw, though. The bans were actually all correct. So we're just trying to work something out real quick. In the meanwhile, though, we will go to a quick music break, potentially. Oh, no. Okay, never mind. It looks like we're just going to be getting right back in here. Right back into the action, Zeta.
Yep.
All right. So, the top laner had pledged to pick Trundle and then realized he did not own Trundle. So they're switching that Trundle to a Shen. Here we are, back in the chance select.
Well, bans should be the exact same. So with the swap in the actual pick away and away from the Trundle, it means that we're going to see a little bit of a different lineup coming out here.
Yeah, so to cover, comment in the chat real quick. We don't allow target bans unless both teams agree upon this. Both teams have gone over their picks and bans already, so these are already pretty much decided, but the teams both agreed upon all of these bans. They're completely okay with these champions being taken off the table, and we're going to see adjustments based off of that. And I think that's really smart here, so we don't just end up with the same game duplicated twice. I think that's a good agreement between these teams. Shen and Alawi locked in for these top laners here. A very trade-heavy lane and a very snowbally lane. I feel like the Shen doesn't snowball quite as hard as the Alawi, but the Alawi can just completely run away with the game if she gets ahead. However, it's very difficult for her to enable that in team fights, so I'll be interested to see how action faking does here.
Yeah, it's it's a fun story. You know how we said 3 of the earlier bands were Shen, A-Soul, and Tom Kench?
Yeah.
Well, 2 of them have been picked up. We'll see if they pick up the third. I feel like it very much could come out now, and if that's the case, that means that this comp is going to be so quick at rotating. They're actually not going to go with. They're going to go with Ashe Zyra instead. But the MF's the ADC. I don't know how well it's going to counter Zyra this time.
Yeah, with MF in the ADC position in particular, it'll be kind of different than what we've seen more recently from MF versus Zyra in lane. But I like MF ADC way more than MF support, honestly. It would be interesting to go over that build, though, because there is quite a lot of theory crafting behind that. wide impact with the Shen now picked up for himself. So a lot of extra map impact with the Stand United, now taking a TP that's very much usable and still might be able to push around action faking in this lane to some extent, although it's much more difficult versus an Alawi.
Yeah, it's possible, but
Yeah, unlikely.
so unlikely that it's not really worth considering that. If the Shen does get that out of control, I mean, I'd hope that there'd be somebody. I'd hope that Starmie would have the presence of mind to go up there and actually handle it, get the lane back into their own favor, because no matter how bad it gets, it's still Alawi. If you get more than 2 to 3 people around her, she's still going to one-shot whoever she hits first. So, not too worried, but right now, bot lane is shoving in again. Cook and Winston, they're making this work every single time with these very aggressive lanes.
Yeah, and so far, the CS is very low right now across the map, and that's, I mean, it's only 3.5 minutes into the game. We're only 2 minutes into lane, really, so that's to be expected. Actually, hold that thought. Lone Starmie is up top, already looking for a gank onto you. Here it is.
They get the gank, they get the knock-up, they should have this kill, but he has flashed, the wall is in range. Will he manage to get over it? The flash does not connect, and now the races are on. He has to get over the back of this Baron pit, and he's going to make it out. He has plenty of time to back. We'll see if he manages to get out safely, though. He has to path correctly. Maybe he's going to suicide to the turret instead.
I think that's
Looks
the best
like he's
option
choosing.
here. Oh, it's...
Yeah, he
okay.
should get to the turret. That's the much safer play.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no way he's going to get out of that. Otherwise, Erratic.
TK to the safety, man. This is why
Yeah.
I love the pick. I love it against these super aggressive lanes. Tahm Kench negates nearly all of the pressure they're applying.
Yeah, we saw this yesterday. We actually saw at Worlds in the finals, Samsung pick the Tahm Kench into Ashe, and every time that Crown was hit by a very long-range Ashe arrow and was at risk of taking damage or dying, the Tahm Kench just scooped him up and just got out of dodge real quick. And that's what we're going to continue to see in this lane. Every time this MF gets snared or hit by an Ashe arrow, and this will apply to any target, really. Anytime anything of danger happens, the Tahm Kench will just scoop him up to safety, action faking, 2v1 top.
This is close. It's actually going to be first blood to action faking.
Oh, man.
This
That's
Alawi, I
it.
mean, we were talking about the potential when it gets 2 or more people. That's exactly it. And Tai overstepping his bounds leads to a very early death. Action faking in a much better situation than last time.
Yeah, having no items there from Tai, a little bit risky to go for that, because a no-item Alawi is much stronger than your average no-item champion, especially with the ease of her landing damage versus champions like Shen and Hecarim that don't have many ways to get out once they go in. Winston, now the focus down bottom.
He is getting just completely removed from any help that would have been possible, because TK, as soon as you eat someone up, I mean, they can get displaced so far from the help, and in that case, it was the Zyra. This Tahm Kench, I think it's a fantastic pick. It looks to be doing exactly what they want, and now DKT, they look like they are firmly in the driver's seat.
This is a complete reversal of what we saw last game. Last game, we saw you crush the top lane, and then we saw... Oh, actually, hold that thought. Here's a fight around Dragon. This is really risky, though.
Tai, he doesn't have items still. He's lacking for these, and as I say that, though, I mean, they managed to shove off DKT. Now, the Dragon should
didn't
go
reset.
over for free. Infernal secured, and Justice Dealer might pay the price as well. He is the one that is under fire. 4 members have approached this lane. Oh, I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue, but good shove. They managed to get the Dragon for it, but still down over 1,000 gold.
We were on the verge of seeing a complete mirror of what we saw last game, but the sides and roles reversed. DKT crushing top lane already with this Alawi, and that's just going to continue. It's not really much of a stretch to be saying that even at this point, only 2-0. That's just going to continue. That's how Alawi works, basically. They group really well with their jungler, with their mid laner around the Dragon. They pull off a grouped gank, and then they go for an objective. not quite able to pan that out for them. But that's exactly what we saw from Dances with Shadows in the last game, and that's what led them to such a clean victory from the start. Lone Starmie looking to come in mid now, predicts the flash.
Beautiful jump. That is straight into the elastic slingshot, but League of Banter, he's still making his way out. Will the burn be enough? It will not. And League of Banter, even with the flash prediction, he makes it out alive.
That was so beautiful, but DKT just doesn't pan out for them again. Just like that dragon just a moment ago. They looked like they had it firmly in their grasp, but then it just slipped away from them out of nowhere. I mean, Taint was so confident that he had that kill. I was really confident as well. Malefic Vision and the Deathfire Touch both ticking away. Feels like there's no way that he should live through that, but he did. Just 5 HP, really. Just extremely unlucky. Slightly miscalculated there. Now there's a roam bottom.
This is how this Aurelion Soul pick should be panning out. They get the roam. Will Erratic go down? They don't have ultimate to follow up, though. No Ash Arrow to speak of. And that means that Tahm Kench is going to be able to save the MF for now. Yes, the Ace Soul roam started to work, but without the Ash Arrow follow-up, and look at that, it was 3 minions away. Without that follow-up, there's no chance of finishing the kill because you can't stun the TK up to prevent the takeaway.
Yeah, there's no way that you can really prevent Justice Dealer from doing his thing here. Taint now maybe a little bit caught. Oh, good stun. But they can't really go for the dive.
Oh.
Yeah.
As I say that, though, they throw the arrow through mid, hoping to get lucky, and it's not the case. So right now, DKT, they've got 2,000 or so gold to their name, but they have to get some turrets off this, or else they're going to stagnate, and the lead's not going to be able to grow very much.
They have to spend this money right now. Action Faking has 1,200 of the 2,000 gold lead for the whole team in his pockets right now. He needs to go back to base and cash that in so that this lead actually matters more. Taint might maybe a little bit caught out there, zoned off for just a moment, but he's going to be able to step off, no problem. And there's a lot of pressure around this mid lane, really from both of these teams right now, but no one is breaking under this pressure. They're both just standing strong, and these ganks are just not panning out for either team at the moment.
Yeah, right now, it's the tale of the failed ganks because it just seems like everything anybody tries is not working. The earliest ganks did work, but right now, Action Faking is the only one allowed near this turret. He says, I gotta have this, man. I gotta get my advantage. 2 levels up, 40 CS and 2 kills means that his gold lead is absolutely insane. In fact, he is most of the gold lead for the entire line of DKT, and if he takes this turret, it's just going to get bigger.
Yeah, the issue right now, though, or the issue, there is no issue right now for DKT, but rather, the issue down the line will be this Alawi. She is extremely strong at the moment, and this is what happens when you get a lead on Alawi. But the issue, like I said in Champ Select, is transferring that lead to be something meaningful later on. This comp is still not the best for enabling the Alawi, but it's extremely hard to actually build a comp effective enough to do that.
Grasping Roots get one, but Starmie with that jump away is super mobile on the Zac. He can actually reduce it.
League of Banter's there. It's completely safe.
Little bit. The Aurelion Soul run-up means that this mid lane actually is going to be the one that gets pressured in now. And Malzahar with the AFK shove can do this all day, every day. This turret chip damage is so important if they want to get the first brick. And right now, it's a competition. Does Action Faking get it, or does Taint take it in the mid lane?
I mean, at this point, Action Faking is actively handing a beatdown to this turret whenever the creeps get there, basically. So I feel like it'll probably go to him, and that's, again, just going to extend this lead of Alawi even further. He is about 2,000 gold up, 1,800 gold ahead, but 2,200 gold of all of it is still unspent for Action Faking right now. He has nearly 100 CS worth of gold in his pocket still, and 2 kills worth of gold. That's still all unspent, really. So this is Or not, no, not the 2 kills. The 2 kills were spent. He only had Doran's Blade when he got those, so apologies for that. But nonetheless, nearly 100 creeps worth of gold. Just sitting there right now, waiting to be spent, waiting to be used to kill the Shen even further. Yeah.
If he gets the Black Cleaver, if he finishes it off, no amount of armor is going to save you, and that means... Actually, fun story. No amount of armor is going to save you or the rest of your team.
Yeah.
In this situation, because Yu is a little bit weak comparatively. I mean, no, there's no CC. If he ever wants to TP, if he ever wants to ult, there's nothing the Alawi can do to stop him. But that means he's going to lose a minimum of 2 turrets, because then this first turret will fall from the 2 or so hits it's going to take, and the second one should go. I would go if I was action faking. This turret is so low, you got to take it down, get that first brick, and just start shoving it in relentlessly.
Yeah, and again, that's exactly what Alawi does. You get a lead in lane by killing the jungler on their gank, and then you just push through the turret and just push relentlessly, and you just continue to do that forever. Again, the issue is transferring that into something meaningful later. Hitting a very good ult or having the time to set up the tentacles properly with the passive are 2 very good ways that action faking can execute this pick throughout the rest of the match, but it is extremely hard. Looking at the rest of the map, though, bottom lane is a CS lead. It does have a CS lead for Lylat. There's only a small CS deficit for for attenuated taint. Well, a lead for him rather, and a deficit for League of Banter. But neither of these carries have any kills either. So as soon as kills start coming through, these CS leads will mean quite a bit less. But it's just a matter of Boxing with Shadows really getting there. But DKT can also get there, and they have gotten there. They've taken that first step of keeping up in CS in the bottom lane and getting a kill.
Winston is being very, very cheeky with his positioning. No. That's going to lead to a kill for sure. There's no way he should be able to get out of this one. He goes down, and they're going to try and repeat this in the top lane. They tried this earlier. Is this going to be the difference, though?
No mana.
There's no mana left on action faking. 2, 3 ults being used. The tentacles are still slapping their way, and they actually respond. As soon as they see that gank, they make another play in the bot lane. Cook stays way, way, way too long. He had to know that they wanted him. He had to know that they were ready to make the play. And because of that play in the top lane, it gives them time. Both turrets now under threat.
Yeah, really nice response there overall. 3 members committed to the top lane. 2 of them do not belong there, as opposed to the 2 that do belong down there in the bottom lane already. And after all of that pushing in the top lane even, action faking doesn't even get first brick. It goes to Erratic. It goes to Erratic, Justice Stealer, and Lone Starmie instead. So it's still gold into the pockets of DKT, and this is still going to help them further this lead and further this game in their favor, but is not quite going to lead to that crushing lead from the Alawi, at least not as largely. That's about a kill's worth of gold that's quote-unquote lost for Alawi just from taking that turret.
Yeah, I guess so, but I mean, realistically, the turret's still going to go down.
Yeah,
the gold lead is still extending, so it's not the worst thing in the world, especially if you're already 1,700 gold ahead. Where
was he?
You can see the plants. They were spawning near this gromp. Well, no words are down, so I'm confused about what the play was for. I think he might have actually escaped through the jungle, but either way, it looks like he made his way safely through the turret and is back down with his dual lane partner in Cook.
Yeah, and this is still just dominating for action faking. I mean, he was down to half health versus a full of you, and now there's a health lead. We're just hitting all these tentacles constantly. Every target you hit with your Q or each individual tentacle will heal you for a percentage of your missing health. There's just so much healing potential from action faking here. And this is the turret dead, and this might be a kill outright. Bite at the dragon, though.
Starmie is dangerously low as I say that. He's still got some stuff to play with. He's got the passive, and the dragon is the one with
Oh,
low HP.
Tai.
Now they burn it down. Blue team smites it away. Tai makes something out of it, but they're going to lose a lot for what they've gained. And now League of Banter is the one that is under fire. Maybe he can escape the TK, but these tongue lashes are so close. The elastic slingshot does not land. He turns it around slightly, gets the Star Surge, and now the Shen comes in. Yu has been here before, and Justice Dealer is the one that will go down. They take 2-3 on the fight, and it goes 2 for 3. They actually get an overall win, including the Dragon take.
Yeah, oh, it might not be over yet.
It's close. It's not what I'd want to see. Starmie's got to be thinking, you know, how
he's got his
unlucky
passive
am I?
here.
But he stuck around for so long. Now the passive has popped. You got to think about this. Do you really want to commit under the turret? I don't think so. You're going to try and get something else out of it. Gold lead narrowed slightly, 5,000 now.
And there's no way that they can kill Lone Starmie here under the turret. He's just slightly too tanky. Justice Dealer's finds you, though. That's going to stall his recall. Maybe even result in a kill.
Close, but right now, Yu is... I don't think he's... Oh, there's the tongue lash for the last stun. It means that he's going to have to burn something to get out. Or not.
That's something. It's only the taunt.
There was just nobody was following up. The rest of the team from DKT didn't seem very interested in the rest of that kill.
Yeah, a bit of unfortunate situation for DKT. They really had that kill pretty successfully locked down. I feel like if they just had the rest of the team follow up. Here's the Mal's ult in mid. Ooh.
It's gonna get something, but that something is just not enough damage. And right now, League of Banter, he's actually got quite a bit of health to his name with that GLP, so not gonna go down too easily. We'll see if he can get the Rylai's finally to more than even things up. But if there's no pressure on the map, if nobody's shoving in, right now bot lane going the opposite direction for action faking to even think about shoving this farther.
And Lone Starmie showing, well, not quite showing, but is down here in the bottom lane again. Was not spotted on a ward though. There are no wards to really keep Lilet and Winston super safe from the Zac here. He doesn't seem to be going for it quite yet, but Erratic, he might be dead here actually.
Yeah, he has overstepped his bounds, and Lilet takes one. Now the gold, it's starting to narrow even further. It just seems like DKT don't know what to do with his lead.
I think a big problem is the lead doesn't really exist too much outside of top lane, and that's not necessarily bad. Here's Lone Starmie going in onto Lilet. Not quite going to get the kill though. Now this mid turret will fall. So as they continue to build this lead up elsewhere and get this global gold, that's when this lead will start mattering more, because they have a 5,000 gold lead, but 3,000 of it nearly is all on action faking. A lot of that gold that they have is not really moving around the map. In reality, it's for the rest of this comp, for the rest of this team, it's more of a 2,000 gold lead at the moment. And Yu is he's not keeping up in CS by any stretch, and it's just getting worse, but he's assisting elsewhere and now is leading action faking in terms of kills. It's not nearly enough to shield up this deficit yet to fill it in, but it's sort of a band-aid as action faking takes down the top tier 2 turret, and there's no response at all.
Finally, he's using the gold though. I mean, he's put so much time, so much pressure into this top lane. Right now is where he's opening up the map for DKT. He's drawing 3 members into the top side. Now you got to take other tier 2s. Now you got to look towards the Baron, because he has given you so much to play with.
Yeah, now they're going to try to gank action faking, but he's just in a prime position. You're chasing him into his territory. If there are tentacles there, that is Alawi's zone. And now the rest of the team of DKT is responding up here for the most part. They know that action faking is going to be the big target, and it's at least enough to deter boxing with shadows off for a little bit. They're not going to go for action faking here, but there's nothing gained really from either team, honestly.
Action faking, he's got to swap, he's got to start going bot lane, because if he doesn't, this is the fate. They are going to just start losing fights. They're going to get picked, and the flash by Zyra leads into a Grasping Roots. Erratic has to burn Flash as well. That means that right now, this mid lane priority, the mid lane tier 1 first turret of the game, might be picked up by a very, very aggressive play. But that means that this Zac is going to be able to come in. He has room to play with.
Ooh, Erratic.
Banter is trying desperately to finish off the MF. Erratic gets away for now, and Justice Dealer has no health to play with. He's just not tanky enough to sustain through this. And that means that the jump is going to be the last ability that he has left to throw. And that's just enough. League of Banter goes down. They've got one. Can they find anything else? Action faking. No mana to speak of in the top lane. And now he's the one under fire. He's surely going to go down. Yu takes him as well. And they get one more kill. Ash trading the turret for her own life.
I mean, overall, I think that's kind of worth it. It's 3 kills for 1. Granted, but now the Shen is showing that he can fight top. They get the mid tier 1, which is a nice influx of gold. Not nearly enough to fill in this lead, though. It's just the first step in a process that Boxing with Shadows will have to take to continue this. Ty has no way to get into the pit here. I don't even know why he's wasting his time. He should just be clearing the rest of his jungle at this point, honestly. It's just not worth standing there and watching them take the dragon, I feel. But
well, whether it's worth it or not, right now the gold lead is around 6,000.
Yeah.
So still, at this point in the game, 23 minutes, that is quite a bit of gold. It's not like the last one where it's 3-ish thousand at this point. So
yeah,
if
this is
DKT
much
can
more.
capitalize and they can actually see this Alawi send her bot lane, maybe even pressure them into sending 2 or 3 people and then get the Baron off the top side push, that would be almost a game-ending play at this point. 100 CS lead for that Alawi.
Yeah, it's just so massive. Again, this is exactly what Alawi does. This is nothing out of the ordinary. It feels like one thing to take note of. Is this Zizzarat portal for Justice Dealer already? This is very much early. It's his first item, in fact, after the Sightstone and boots. So really early pickup for Justice Dealer. First fully completed item, fully upgraded item. That's going to put immense pressure wherever he places it, in this case in the bottom lane. But that does not stop this bottom tier 1 from falling. And this might be an engage from Lone Starmie. He's going real deep.
Yeah, he's actually gotten on to Winston, and now Attenuated has seen the light. He's onto the backside, actually lands the ultimate onto a charging Mai Tai, and that means that he is going to go down trading 1 for 1 right now. But Yu is having none of this Alawi nonsense as the other side of the map. Now Justice Dealer, the one under fire. Let's see if he can even make it happen. Shut down completely 4 tentacles, and that's a big push. Now the inhibitor turret is under fire, and an undermanned squad from DKT manages the 4v4. Barely, though. It's 2 for 1, and that's not great in the 4v4.
Yeah, but I mean, if you consider the kill for action faking top, it is a 2 for 2 globally, which is pretty nice because action faking got a lot of free time on that inhib turret. Now trying to fight League of Banter, he can do this easily. Winston caught out again. Still no recall for the Zyra, and even dead.
One more slap on that ghost would have meant death for the A's soul, but Zyra goes down instead. And Lone Starmie? Oh, Violet, I don't think you want to be doing this. This is a very risky flash over the wall, and Alawi doesn't even want to turn. Why are you not turning? You know that he's here. You know that you have the damage, but they've actually gone in. Lilet has slain the Alawi, and that was a very late TKTP. It means that he's going to go down as well. 2 for 0. Gotta slap her early. You gotta let her know who's the boss, because otherwise you don't have health to play with.
They might go for this Baron here. They're going to start it. It's immediately revealed by DKT, however, and Lone Starmie is here. There's no way that they can clear out all of the vision that can come down. They can kill this ward right now. Lone Starmie's just going to go in for it, though. He has to.
A really early engage, and the Ash arrow to stun him up means that he's going to be trapped for quite a while. The ult is down from Malzahar, but it's not going to burn out Lilet, or will it? It does take him down on the backside of that pool. He finally drops from the percent health damage, but now action faking is up, and he has TP.
I mean, Lone Starmie, what?
That's a really interesting engage. They
He
still
thought
don't
they
have
were on
vision
it.
inside of the pit, so he runs it up and in and pays the price.
He thought that they were on the Baron, which definitely is not necessarily a completely wrong idea, but without the Ashe, that's incredibly risky. The Malzahar is not nearly as important for the team fight as Ashe is for taking the Baron. There's almost no way that Boxing with Shadows would have gone for that there, and that was an overstep off of the lack of information from Lone Starmie. He throws away his life. It does not result in anything, however. They don't get the Baron off of that. This is actually a push for DKT off of their jungler's death.
Yeah, it's at this point that was just such a risky call to go anywhere near that.
Oh,
but
man.
action faking, I mean, talking about risky calls, going anywhere near this allowing means you are signing yourself up for a one-way ticket to the gray screen zone, and now he's got some more people anywhere near him, but the auto-canceling of Shen gives the trade over to Boxing with Shadows.
Yeah, unfortunately, if Alawi's leap of faith, or her W, does not connect, then it does not proc the tentacles to attack that target. Since it just does nothing, it doesn't count as even going off. So a really nice counter built into Shen's kit there from you. And it worked out really, really well. This dragon is up in 41 seconds. And it is going to be a Cloud Drake. So nothing too fantastic, really. But that would be a second Cloud Drake for Boxing with Shadows. And that would be the first, really, second dragon overall, first Cloud Drake to be picked up for DKT. That could be pretty helpful trying to roam around the map.
But I don't know if it's going to be as much as they need. They much would have preferred a mountain. They much would have preferred something like an Infernal. And that is going to be the case. Maybe Starmie can manage to make something happen. He goes the other direction, though. They don't want to take the fight yet because action faking isn't there. And he is a large, large portion of this team's damage and gold.
I'm not entirely sure what Lone Starmie is doing. Well, now I know what he's doing. This is Engage.
And they get the pull back into Hecarim. He lands the Shadow, and that means that he's going to drop as well. Double kill for Lone Starmie, and they get another one down, eaten up by the TK. And now they can take the Dragon if they want, but they could also just as easily go for mid turret.
The bullet time was almost instantly canceled, but somehow Lylat still ended up dying all the way in the back of the fight. That was an incredible kill for Erratic, and now that just completely crushes the entire comp, the entire lineup. Oh my gosh. Now they're going for the Baron. They have the teleport coming in from Attenuated Taint with action faking pushing mid. You don't need the Alawi to take these objectives. This is a four-man show, and she's going to have Baron very soon.
Yeah, if this Baron goes through, and it looks like it will, there's almost no way it can be contested. It's going to be devastating, because this means that they can't even contest the Alawi normally. With Baron buff, you're going to have to send a minimum of 4 people, and if you do that, surely they have to punish you somewhere else in the map.
They do. They absolutely have to punish this risk of a 4v5 that's just constantly there with action faking being so big. I mean, but it's very difficult because if you want to do a reasonable amount of work in these fights, then you can't just be throwing a Hail Mary Ashe Arrow and not have anyone in range. You have to be walking in a decent range to follow up on a mid-range Ashe Arrow maybe, and the Ashe needs to be able to deal damage following it up. It's not just a pick where you can hit a carry in the mid lane from base and the rest and your team just cleans it up. That's not how this comp is built. They absolutely need the Ashe for the DPS. So you have to walk into Zac range. You have to risk walking in to Malzahar range potentially as well in order for this comp to really be able to deal with anyone. And even then, there's so many targets that they can't hit. You can't hit the Malz to initiate right off the bat because of his passive. You can't engage on the Alawi, you can't engage on the Zac, you can't engage on the Tahm Kench. You need to blow up this MF, or you need to be able to pick off this Malzahar in other ways other than a Hail Mary arrow, which is what we've seen so far in the successful fights from Boxing with Shadows, but it just seems very difficult to do. Now action faking, taking that Baron buff into full effect, pushing this bottom lane in, gets bottom tier 2. It is 6-2 in turrets right now, and this could be easily another 2 kills if this fight goes a bit too far from Tai and Winston.
Yeah, right now, Boxing with Shadows are finally spreading out their gold. Action Faking recognizes it. He knows he has to be in the bot lane in order to draw somebody down. And this just looks like the perfect setup because as of right now, Boxing with Shadows, they can't do much. DKT have the setup. They've got the Baron. They've got the gold.
Oh.
They've got a little bit of a catch on to League of Banter. He was so close to going down there if he didn't have that flash up, but he did, and he used it. So right now, 2v1 in the bot lane. We've seen this before. We know how it pans out, but the 3v1, is this going to change anything? The exhaust comes through.
Oh my gosh.
Does the arrow. 4 versus 1 now, and Action Faking is still the one that's coming out on top. He manages
and the rest of the team is just split pushing
with the largest slam that I have ever seen, and Tai is going to be the first one of many to fall over because this base is going to fall apart. Erratic is onto the turret. He doesn't even care that his Zac is getting attacked because if they're getting objectives, they're getting the base, and they're going to win the game through sheer objectives, sheer turret pressure in the bot lane. Action Faking continues.
Man, and Action Faking is just oh my gosh. DKT is playing this so well. You dies in the mid lane. Traded for Action Faking bottom, but
down. They finally have slain the boss. Raid boss is down for now, but there's new content coming out right now because Justice Dealer has so many people on his list, and this is going to be the next one hit up. 2 more drops. League of Banter, you, Winston, are all dead for many, many seconds. Tai, and Lilet, what can they do? Can they even stop this push? Because super minions are starting to stream into the base.
It's definitely not impossible with as much CC as Hecarim and Ashe have, but the damage is just so lacking from these two. Hecarim is going for an off damage build, sort of. He has Cinderhulk with Trinity Force, not nearly enough. Lilet had to go for the Mortal Reminder, also not nearly enough damage. These Nexus turrets are falling while they're dueling on the side, and this might not be the final push yet, but DKT are in prime position to be taking this game very soon, and in fantastic fashion with just a few ban adjustments, and honestly, definitely working off some mistakes and maybe wrong decisions from Boxing with Shadows earlier on as well. But overall, DKT has looked really solid this game.
Yeah, they really have. I mean, the good thing is that even though they were in a little bit of a predicament last game with Boxing with Shadows coming out with a very strong comfort picks, they managed to get their leads rolling early, and they converted it into a straight win simply by brute forcing and objective taking, much like now. But this comp focusing around this Alawi, really, I mean, the pressure and gold he has, 16,000 to his name with over 360 CS at 35 minutes is so impressive. And right now, it's paying dividends.
Oh, no,
Winston, one more time. It looks like he's going to get caught up, and the Shen ultimate is just not enough to save him. Attenuated Taint gets another kill to his name.
My gosh.
And Lilet is pinched from the backside. A beautiful ultimate from Justice Dealer brings that Malzahar right where he needs to be. Starmie is in the front line. Now the back line. It doesn't matter what part of this line this is. And the last Nexus turret going to be under fire shortly because League of Banter is just not big enough to keep this up.
No, it really doesn't seem like it, and not being able to hit any of these stars or the Voice of Light either, not going to be doing any favors. That will absolutely, undeniably be the game for DKT, and we get the first 1-1 of the session. Fantastic showing from both of these teams. This is actually really great, I feel like, for both of these teams. This is more beneficial, possibly, than any other series that we've seen so far, just due to the fact that we saw both these teams make mistakes that put them behind, or both of these teams made plays that put them ahead. And we see the styles of each of these teams compositionally, what their comfort picks are, what they can work on even with their best or maybe not, or maybe their second or third best picks. This is a really great series, and it was so exciting. So many kills in 2 games.
Yeah, it's a very well played series. Different plays in different games, but both DKT and Boxing with Shadows have proved themselves to be a little more than worthy, taking a game apiece. So, fantastic play by both of them.
Yeah, and overall, again, fantastic showing from both of these teams. Congratulations to both of them going toe-to-toe for the first 1-1 of the session, as I said before. But with all of that we just saw, guys, I want to thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for casting with me tonight, Zeta. It was a lot of fun, I've got to say. Very bloody games, very exciting games, so much for both of us to talk about. I hope you had a good time as well, and I hope all of you viewing at home enjoyed, and all of you playing in the Showmatch enjoyed as well. We want to provide a great learning environment, and I feel like, again, just to repeat myself one last time, this is by far the best opportunity for learning that I think we've seen so far. The VODs will be up on YouTube very shortly. I want to thank you all for watching. This is the last Showmatch of week number 2 of Learning 5, but don't worry, we will be back next week with even more show matches, and keep an eye on that Discord because we will have a very big announcement for the end of the session coming out in the next few days, so please make sure to keep an eye out for that. I hope you all enjoyed. For the final time, I am Blaster Boy, joined here by Zeta, and I want to thank you all so much for watching.